secure, contain, protect, the mandate is clear. We operating in the shadows, feeding off the fear. Deep beneath the surface, in a sight you'll never find, locking up the nightmares that would fracture every mind.
All right, people, grab your coffee and settle in. Welcome. Today, we're diving into something absolutely critical for anyone, and I mean anyone, working with high-risk anomalies. We're going to talk about a fundamental shift in our entire containment philosophy.
And I really mean that. We've all seen the reports. We've all read the files on colleagues who got just a little too comfortable, a little too sure of themselves. What we're discussing today, it's a matter of survival, not just for us, but for the very fabric of reality we're sworn to protect. So stay sharp.
So here it is, the central unnerving question that's been keeping the O5 Council up at night. For decades, our approach has been pretty simple, right? Build a stronger box, a Scranton reality anchor for every tear. But what if building stronger boxes is precisely the problem? What if every reinforced wall, every logic lock, is pulling reality so taut that it's on the verge of just snapping?
To really get our heads around this paradox, there's no better case study than my esteemed and frequently exasperating colleague, Dr. Rebecca Harleen. She is the absolute master of the old way, the structuralist approach. Her work is brilliant, it's precise, and it's absolutely vital. But it's also a perfect illustration of the massive risk we're now facing.
And you can see it right here in the feedback. Site Director Light calls her a rigid component. Dr. Mann praises her clinical detachment, her ability to focus solely on the engineering without getting bogged down by, well, scruples. And me? Yeah, our collaborations are legendary, but her startle reflex around my yo-yo is a genuine operational hazard. She is, in every single sense, a paradox.
This really quantifies the paradox perfectly. Her proficiency with our Elon Vital infused ideation supports is, and I'm not exaggerating, what's keeping some of our worst nightmares in their cages. Her success rate is astounding. But that same hyperfocus, that incredible tunnel vision, it creates a high-stress lab culture that actively disrupts collaboration. And in our line of work, a breakdown in communication isn't just an HR issue. It's a containment breach just waiting to happen.
So what does this mean? It means we need a fundamental shift in our thinking. We have to move away from Dr. Harleen's ideal of a perfectly static environment to one of fluid adaptability. We need systems that can bend and flex with metaphysical pressures instead of just shattering under them. We have to allow for the natural ebb and flow of reality, those little hummy fluctuations, not try to stamp them out entirely.
Now, before we get to the solution, it's absolutely crucial we remember the stakes. Think of this as a refresher on the red lines, the non-negotiables, for 3 of our most, dangerous residents, pulled directly from the latest risk assessment audits. Pay attention.
SCP-682, the Big Lizard. The rules are simple and they are absolute. Keep it submerged, keep it contained in an acid-proof box, and never, ever, under any circumstances, talk to it. A breach response is not a negotiation. It's overwhelming force. Minimum 7-member MTF teams, no exceptions, ever.
Next, SCP-106, the Old Man. This one isn't about strength, it's about complexity and distance. 40 layers of lead-lined steel, suspended electromagnetically to confuse its senses. And the most important rule of all, 60 meters. At all times, if someone gets taken, they're gone. We do not attempt recovery.
And SCP-939, of many voices. The danger here is sensory and biological. They mimic the voices of their victims to lure you in. And that's exactly why the pulse monitor rule is absolute. If both monitors flatline, that person is gone. You do not listen to them. You do not try to help. You run.
And let me be clear, we're not here today to talk about just another monster in a box. We're talking about a crack in the very foundation of reality. We've been trying to wrestle the universe into submission for years, and it's time for a new approach. It's time we learned how to stitch things back together. So, first things first. We should probably address the caffeinated elephant in the room. Me. I'm aware my methods are a bit, unconventional. I'm pretty sure the ethics committee uses my file as a paperweight. But hey, you can't argue with results, right?
And this right here really paints the picture, doesn't it? On the one hand, I've got a track record of mitigating ZK-class threats. I can logic lock an adaptive anomaly, basically trapping it in its own head. But on the other hand,
Well, there's the chronic stimulant dependency, a nasty habit of startling my colleagues, and let's just say an affinity for using neon green yo-yos during high-stakes interviews. The short version is, I solve the problems no one else can, but I give the bean counters a massive headache in the process.
Now, my colleague, the brilliant, and let's be honest, perpetually stressed Dr. Harleen, she puts it a little more directly. She calls my style chaos energy. She sees it as a liability. But here's the thing. What she calls chaos, I call being adaptable. And where we work, rigid, predictable models don't just fail, they get people killed. Okay, so we've established I'm a high-functioning mess who gets things done. Now let's get into why you actually need me. This whole thing kicked off when I decided to take another look at one of our oldest, most misunderstood residents, SCP-049.
For decades, we just wrote him off. We thought he was some delusional medieval doctor obsessed with a disease that didn't exist. We were so wrong. After the incident with poor Dr. Ham, I had a realization. 049 didn't just snap and kill him. No, he was reacting to something real, something he saw as an immediate, genuine threat.
You see, he's not detecting a virus or a bacteria. He's a walking, talking early warning system for reality itself starting to fray. What he calls the pestilence is actually conceptual decay. Think of it like tiny, invisible stress fractures in the universe. He can literally see the void chewing at the edges of a person, hollowing them out from a dimension we can't even perceive. And his cure? It's a brutal, messy, medieval solution, but it actually makes a terrifying kind of sense. He's performing metaphysical surgery. He's turning them into a closed system. The decay can't get a foothold anymore. He isn't trying to save the patient, he's trying to save the universe from the patient.
Now here's the scary part. Our old friend, the Plague Doctor, he's just the canary in the cosmic coal mine. This problem is systemic. It's everywhere. And there are much, much bigger pieces in play.
Which brings me to what I've started calling the Damocles synthesis. See, we are currently holding, in separate boxes, the two key ingredients for a reality-ending cocktail. On one side, you have SCP-1440. He's a walking entropy field who just erases human civilization wherever he goes. And on the other, you have SCP-032. She creates a biological dead zone, not just for humans, for everything, all life.
So, listen, this is the most important part. We've been carefully hoarding the two halves of our own extinction. If these two ever get in the same room, it's not just an XK-class end-of-the-world scenario. No, it's a ZK-class reality failure. The game board is wiped clean, the universe just stops.
And that brings me to the absolute core of this entire briefing. We have been fundamentally misdiagnosing the illness. We're not just fighting monsters anymore. We're trying to patch a sinking ship that is existence itself.
I've had conversations with beings who remembered the very beginning. I'm talking about SCP-073, Cain, and even 343, and they all give the same bone-chilling warning. A warning that points the finger right back at us, at the Foundation.
Imagine reality is a sheet of tempered glass. It's super strong, right? But that strength comes from incredible internal tension. Our containment methods, thicker walls, stronger locks, reality anchors, are like tightening the screws on that glass. We're forcing absolute order onto a chaotic system, and by doing that, we're making our reality rigid, fragile, brittle. One bad shock and it doesn't bend, it just shatters.
Okay, I know, it's a lot. The universe is shattering and it's kind of our fault. Pretty bleak. But I don't bring problems without proposing solutions. We can't fix this with another concrete box. We need something totally different. We need thaumaturgical stabilization. In plain English, we need to use controlled magic to reinforce the damn universe.
The entire concept hinges on understanding the weave. And forget what you've seen in fantasy novels. Think of it as a fundamental force of the universe, like electromagnetism. It's an invisible fabric of raw energy. The key here, the huge difference from our old methods, is that the weave is an interface. It lets us work with the fabric of reality, reinforcing it locally and dynamically, rather than just imposing a massive, high-tension field on it like a Scranton anchor does.
And just like any other science, this has clear, repeatable methodologies. We've identified 3 primary channels for activation. Vocal, using specific frequencies to shape spells, perfect for combat. Somatic, using precise gestures. Think of it like metaphysical sign language for stealth ops. and material, using a catalyst for an instantaneous explosive effect. It's a structured, observable, and trainable discipline.
So we have this new science, but a tool is useless without someone who can wield it. So let's talk about our new hammer, Person of Interest 7420.
POI 7420, the Astral Knight, is the living embodiment of this whole new methodology. He doesn't just cast spells, he integrates thaumaturgy into the very flow of combat. He acts as the needle to literally stitch tears in reality itself. And his toolkit, it's diverse. We're talking short-range teleportation with his Starlight Step, reactive light parries, absorbing incoming energy and channeling it right back out through his blade. He can create sonic detonations, manifest blades of pure shadow. He gives our MTF teams a dynamic, adaptive layer of defense we have never had before. He is a game changer.
This guy is not just another soldier. He's a reality warper who can literally reweave the fabric of space-time. This is the only person who's ever earned the genuine respect of Abel, SCP-0762. He even logic-locked 682. He wove a conceptual cage into its own skeleton.
And his ability, it gave me the key. For decades, we've leaned on Scranton reality anchors, but SRAs are just a deadweight. They're a crude instrument that suppresses anomalies with brute force. We don't need an anchor anymore, people. We need a loom. This new project, Project Astral Anchor, won't just hold reality down. It will actively reweave the conceptual fabric, stitching those little cracks closed before they can spread.
And here's how we're going to do it. It's a two-pronged attack. First is Project Astral Knight. That's the training. Masters has already agreed to a pilot program with MTF Alpha 9, teaching them basic combat rituals and defensive spells. Second is Project Astral Anchor. That's the technology. A whole new infrastructure of this anchor tech that'll turn our containment sites from prisons into stabilization zones.
So, sounds pretty good, doesn't it? A magic knight, some reality-weaving tech. We found the perfect fix for our fundamentally broken universe. It's the magic bullet we've all been waiting for.
But that leads to the really big question, doesn't it? Can we actually create a perfectly stable, perfectly orderly world with zero chaos? And maybe more importantly, should we even try?
This is the ultimate danger. I call it the Crystal Palace paradox. If we go too far, if we over-tighten the weave with these new anchors, we risk creating a reality that's so orderly it has no flexibility left. A perfect, crystalline world that is one loud bang away from shattering into a million irreparable pieces.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's that our entire philosophy has to change. We have to move from just containing things to actively stabilizing them. We've got to learn to work with the fundamental chaos of the universe, not just build walls to keep it out. We have to learn to use the weave, not cage it, because a cage, no matter how strong you build it, will eventually always break.
054 put it bluntly. This new path is incredibly powerful, but it's also unbelievably dangerous. We are pulling at cosmological threads here. Our own curiosity could be the very thing that shatters reality if we aren't meticulous.
054's warning really encapsulates the stakes perfectly, doesn't it? We have the tool, the needle, that could fix the damage, that could reinforce the weave. But a needle can also tear the fabric even wider if it's used recklessly. The potential to save everything is balanced on a knife's edge against the potential to destroy it all.
The old way of just building walls isn't enough anymore. The world is getting more brittle, and the things that live in the dark are getting smarter. We are holding the needle that could stitch it all back together. The only question left is, are you ready to learn how to use it?